Welcome to A New Lens with CommonGood Capital, where we talk with investors, RIAs, fund managers, and philanthropists about their experiences within different impact investing themes, as well as explore the power of stewardship and capital. I'm your host, Jeff Shafer, CEO of CommonGood Capital. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Ashleigh Chapman, and I'm not going to read everything that you're involved in because you'll explain that, because there's actually a lot that you're involved with. So let me just a little bit about Ashleigh. Ashleigh is a human rights lawyer, social entrepreneur, and has invested 23 plus years building the solutions, partnerships, and programs needed to alleviate the movement to end human trafficking and better care for those in need. Full transparency, I saw Ashleigh at an event a couple weeks ago, was totally impressed with her as an individual, equally what you are what you are doing. And I am looking at investing. So I just want there to be complete transparency into this call. So Ashleigh, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm excited to be here today.
So let's start off. Where are you located right now?
Just outside Nashville, Tennessee, where I was born and raised. But we just moved back here this past year.
Give us a little background of yourself, where you grew up, maybe went to school, and then just a high level of your career, and then we'll dig in from there.
As I said, born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. So my dad was a jazz musician turned pastor of the Downtown Homeless Mission in Nashville, Tennessee, which is my introduction to these issues that I work on today. My education took me to attending Tennessee Technological University for my bachelor's, and then I got my Juris Doctorate, my law degree, from Regent University School of Law in Virginia. Today, I serve as the president of a global nonprofit called the Alliance for Freedom, Restoration, and Justice, and as the founder and CEO of a benefit corporation called Altus Solutions.
When I heard you speak, you gave a little bit of an anecdote to what drove your passion or when you started to feel this. Can you describe that a little bit for us?
My work today as a human rights lawyer, and all that I do, whether it's through the nonprofit or the business hat, is aimed at how do we reform what's so broken in our world and in our communities today that leads to exploitation and abuse in all forms, especially human trafficking. I was first introduced to this issue and committed my life to it when I was 11 years old. My dad had been pastoring the homeless mission downtown Nashville, then an outreach mission for the broader Nashville area. And through that, he was introduced to a woman who said that she was being beaten, and so were her 3 kids, and could they seek shelter in our home? So my parents took them in, but the first night they were with us, we realized she also was an abuser. So she left the next day. We kept the 3 children. And for 6 months, I watched and learned so much about the horrors that exist in our world today, that individuals, including children as young as the 2-year-old we had in our care, had experienced. I also saw the brokenness in our community systems. And that was what was really weighing on me, was how in the world was our community so broken that we had allowed this level of abuse and exploitation in these little souls' lives? And why was it so hard to keep them safe on the other side of even being removed from that situation? So the happy news is that at the end of those 6 months, those children were released. The parental rights were terminated, and they were placed all together as a sibling group in a loving, safe home. And I went to my parents and said, I think this is why God put me on this planet, is to try to solve for this. I think I'm going to need a law degree to do it. So it is the only thing I have focused on every day since.
So you've been in this space your whole career?
My entire career. Yep. Which is now 23 years and going. Given
where you're at in your life's journey, which it sounds like you've been doing this your whole life, how would you describe where you're at right now in your life journey?
That is a big question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I would say I'm right where I want to be, almost.
Okay.
Right. So, and that's on the precipice of transforming ourselves and my team, and just right on the precipice of kind of entering into a new era where we can help way more people, maybe millions of people around the world with the solutions that we've built right now and that are stewarding. And then even personally, that transformation of, trying to figure out how best to do that now that we've entered into a new skin to try to do that, which I think we'll talk about later. So personal transformation, really stretching, my ability, but I'm very excited about where we're going. And then really transforming this whole situation, right? How do we turn the tide against something that should not exist in our world today, which namely is modern day slavery? So, and are there solutions? And I believe the answer is yes, to being able to actually do that, to quit just responding to these problems, but to solve for them. And that's where we're headed. And we're already seeing some amazing impact there. So I'd say we're on the precipice of transformation, and as personally, my own professional walk, as a team, and the solutions that we're bringing to the table across the U.S. and around the world. So I'm very excited about where we are and where I am.
As somebody who's heard you speak now a couple times, here's what I hear, and I want to see if I have it right. You essentially, this is my characterization. So you've been in this space for 23 plus years, obviously highly educated, got tons of relationships, already in the space, already doing it. And I hope I'm not stealing your thunder. You're doing it, you've done it historically in a nonprofit skin, and I'm sure you'll talk about this in a second, but you're really now turning over, you're going to the next chapter from a skill set, from an organization to how do you scale this thing and really make it highly impact as big as you can make it? Is that kind of what?
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. The question always, and the goal in my mind and my team's mind, has been, are there solutions that you could build that could help every victim? Are there solutions you could build that could help every community struggling to address this? And the answer is yes. And we've built several, and we'll build more. But right now we've built several, a handful that we know can impact every single individual that's impacted by this, help every community address this better, whether that's in the U.S. or around the globe. And we're just super excited about that. In 2019, though, up to that point, we had been building all of this and deploying all this and testing it, right, and just getting out there and transforming it in that nonprofit skin for about 20 years now of my own personal effort in that. And it was 2019 when I realized we are never going to scale this here. We cannot scale the solutions, not all our solutions. Some solutions belong in a nonprofit skin, but the ones that need to sustain and grow and scale, radically scale, those transformational solutions. After 20 years of trying, I just realized we're in the wrong skin. This is the wrong soil for this, and we're going to have to plant this somewhere else. And that's when I began researching the world of benefit corporations and impact investments. Got so excited about that. And we were living in Wyoming at the time. I was helping the state of Wyoming with their human trafficking issues. And there was a business incubator that the state set up about 2 blocks behind my house. And I went and knocked on their door and I said, listen, I've got an idea. What if we build a benefit corporation and we scale these solutions through impact investments? Would it work? And I'm so pleased to say it absolutely does. We're about 4 years in now on that journey. And this year, especially, getting ready to scale even further, faster, farther, so that's really exciting.
Well, when I heard you say that phrase, whatever, 2 or 3 weeks ago, that you were in the wrong skin and you need to get in the right skin, I wanted to stand up and clap, because there's nothing wrong with a nonprofit skin given certain parameters. Where I struggle and where I want to challenge, and you're doing this, you're showing this in reality, is, and I'll use my terminology, is people often feel like charity is more pure, is more holy, whatever way you want to describe it. And yet when you say the way you say, I need to get in a different skin so I actually can have a greater impact, which ultimately means you need to make money so you can scale it. I really wanted people to be challenged that if you have a heart and a passion for an issue, by all means, help on the charitable side. But there are certain examples where the holier or as holy or as impactful is actually on the investment side. And you shouldn't feel guilty because there's going to be money made, because actually that's why you're coming over here, so you can make money, so you can reinvest it to have massive impact. So I find a lot of people get stuck. Oh yeah, but I'd rather just give it to them. And you're like, I don't want charity capital because I can't get enough of it. I mean, I'm sure if you could get enough of it, it'd be great.
Well, yeah, but I can tell you that, well, first of all, for those who might be listening in who are feeling that, let me just say, I'm wearing all the hats on this on my answer, right? So I have directed, nonprofits for the last 23 years of my life. And now I have been been the
Mm-hmm.
CEO of a company for the last 4 years. So the types of programs and initiatives and solutions you can build inside a nonprofit skin are all good. But when you're trying to systemically change something, when you're trying to transform something in the world, trying to do something radically new, innovative, something that works outside those, you cannot be constrained that way. And if that's not translating, let me just go brass tacks, right? So foundations and donors love what I would call that direct line of sight ROI. So
Right.
they want to give $100 that sends a kid to camp, and I get a
Right.
letter from that kid on the other side of that camp experience. Woohoo!
And they want to know that $100 actually goes to the kid and not to anything else.
Not to the counselor, not
Right.
to the back end staff, right? Goes to the
Right.
kid. Understandable, kind of. Although
Yep.
I start to twitch when I hear donors talk about overhead,
Yep.
because overhead is people,
Right.
right? Like your people are your programs, and when you're scaling solutions, especially tech-enabled solutions like ours, that require a deep level of expertise, the two things you cannot raise money for in the nonprofit skin, I've tried, is technology and
Yeah.
people. I've actually had donors and foundations come to me and say, fire your team and then hire them all as independent contractors under the program that we're willing to fund, but we don't want to fund your people directly. It's madness. It's madness. And it's part of the reason we're not changing things. It's part of the reason that trafficking continues to grow, and kids who are hurting in communities continue to hurt in our communities. And every kind of vulnerability that creates the world of trafficking, homelessness and poverty, and kids in and aging out of foster care, they're not being solved for because we keep trying to do it inside these boxes and inside these skins that are not right for innovation. And for sustained innovation, sustained transformation, right? We get high turnover rates with nonprofits, and all those constraints, whether, hey, we just want to fund kids programs, not adults. We just want to fund this zip code, not that zip code, right? All these constraints that nonprofits sit in, and government, the turnover rates, and the politics in play, and you might get someone who really cares for this 4 years and next year doesn't at all, right? So you've got to have something very different that can build the kind of solutions and collaborations and partnerships and programs to sustain all of that beyond those constraints outside that for a lot longer. And that requires money. It just requires the resource. It requires the team. So instead of, yes, Jeff, going back, and I felt like I was Oliver twisting all the time, right? So just being like, please, can I have some more? Please, can I have some more?
Right.
Please, can I have some more? And then I'm like, why can't we become our own funder here? Is there not a way where we can just create more ourselves? And the answer is yes. But the skin was not the nonprofit. It was the benefit corporation, and the fuel in the gas tank that we needed to go solar powered was impact investments, which is what we're working on now.
So, look, I could dig into that a whole lot because I think it's a really important issue. But I'm going to force myself to move forward. But I'm going to just say it one more time: the world needs all types of capital, and the notion I think in some people there's this idea that business is greedy, business is bad, and sure, taking the extreme, that's true. But there's also, you have to have profits to reinvest to grow this thing, and if done well, that's a good and honorable thing. And if you're able to be a part of that and make money, that's great. But if you're also a part of helping you scale and not only make money but help these individuals, I don't know. I mean, that's a privilege to be a part of that.
That it really is. And if we had the time to geek out on this further, I would just add to that, having directed nonprofits for over 2 decades now and having helped over 15,000 personally through our global nonprofit. I don't know about the future of nonprofits if they don't have a sustainability plan that is outside of donations. The last 5 years have hit that nonprofit universe so hard, and we lost a lot of people that were manning the ship in so many ways because they could not sustain, whether it was donor fatigue or people just didn't have the charitable ability to give, or other priorities, were coming into play in the world. So I think sustainable plans, whether you're a nonprofit or not, are the future. But we don't have time to waste, you know what I mean, to get caught up with that, for the world to get caught up. We're ready to do it now. And then lift many others with us.
How the heck do you actually make money and help stop human trafficking? Because a lot are going to go, well, that doesn't work. How do you actually make money off this? And that's exploitative, in their mind.
No, it's not exploitive. It's mandated. And what I mean by that is, so one of our solutions is called Justice U. Think of it like an online university for justice advocates, where we provide accredited certifications and all kinds of different kind of learning opportunities for over 50 professions right now in communities. And if you don't know, then what you should know is what we're tapping into there is the continuing education market. And if we just focus on the United States, that's a $60 billion per year market, is the CEU market in the United States. Over half the professions who have to seek CEUs are now mandated to receive training on human trafficking. So like a lawyer like myself, I have to pay to go and access those courses so I can get CEUs in that profession. Healthcare providers, so many, right, trainings that they need to go through, social workers, teachers. So we're tapping into that market, except that we're providing very specific training for that very specific role and profession in that community on the indicators of trafficking. And that will, one, it's a phenomenal revenue stream. Mm-hmm. Two, though, it is a massive impact, because less than 1% right now of victims globally are ever identified while they're being exploited. And that comes directly down to the fact that people in communities don't know how to recognize and respond to this. And I've been plowing that field for over a decade now. And every single community we train, people are flagging cases that day that they just didn't know to see before. And so if we can train 1 million people to recognize and respond to human trafficking in the United States, maybe we save 1 million lives. But in the process, that adds up to a lot of dollars as they're purchasing all those courses that they're mandated to receive. So impact and revenue all at the same time. And that's Justice U. And we have other products on the shelf too.
So what else do you do? I want you to explain Engage a little bit, just so people can understand that.
Well, that's my favorite, right? Okay. So Engage Together is another solution that we build. And this one is my baby, right? So the idea is, how do we help a community? And a community could be a city, it could be a whole state, understand where are their strengths, gaps, needs, opportunities, and vulnerabilities when it comes to human trafficking, whether that's labor or sex trafficking for adults or children, foreign nationals or citizens. And we've brought together quite a technological skill set and dashboarding capabilities and active intelligence capabilities, as well as a whole team of subject matter experts in all the different things that this community needs to know. And what happens is we contract with that community, maybe with their law enforcement task force, maybe with their attorney general's office. So the revenue that gets created through this is through a contract. Okay. And we come in and basically walk alongside that community, deploy every tool we have in that Engage Together toolkit, and it's a lot, to try to help that community see what they've never been able to see before, including each other. And then we move, it's like a 3-phase project. Phase 1 is data collection and all the research. Phase 2 are the findings reviews. And that's where we're producing all the reports and all of the research and all of the data analytics and visualizations we can give them. And phase 3 is community mobilization. And it radically transforms what's going on in that community. Our latest client for that was the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the TBI, Human Trafficking Task Force for the entire state of Tennessee. And you can read all about it on our website at engagetogether.com, but it has been amazing to see what's happening in the way of saved lives, in the way of new reforms, new laws, new policies, new programs that are all coming together as a result. And it is hyper strategic response. Instead of just guessing at what we need to do, it helps that community know what they need to do and how to do it together.
So flush that out. Let's say I'm the one who signed the contract, let's just say, and I'm running the bureau, whatever.
Yeah.
What am I going to see that's going to help me make decisions? And what kind of decisions am I going to be making?
Yeah. So we're gathering data and analyzing that and visualizing that on every person, every program, from business to church to nonprofit to government agency, everyone working every angle of the issue of human trafficking, including those working with at-risk populations. We're looking at programmatic details, geographic, capacity, demographic, their needs. And we, to use a non-techie term, we slurp, right, all that data together. Now we're able to showcase to that director of the TBI and his task force which counties are at the highest risk of trafficking, who's most at risk of trafficking, what services are available in that community. In fact, most states think they have about 25 to 50 services available to support trafficking victims. In Tennessee, we unearthed over 3,000.
Mm.
So this happens because people are reacting to these problems and then they get siloed. So we're trying to break those silos, but it also eliminates gaps. So one of the gaps we discovered in the state of Tennessee that the TBI is now working to address is that there was no training going on. This is just one of many, many gaps that were eliminated, but this is an important one. No training happening, no assessments of women in women's prisons for trafficking indicators. Now, 83% of victims of trafficking are forced to create crimes by their traffickers.
Mm.
And so when that was discovered, we then worked with the Department of Corrections to help them build an assessment tool that's now going out into all women's prisons. And then we're going to back it into juvenile detention facilities too. And the identifications will soar. So at the same time, we're working with communities to get them wrapping around all of the direct service providers. It's quite dynamic. So the TBI had received the Enhanced Collaborative Task Force grant from the federal government, and that's the money that we ended up, tapping into for the contract. We're talking to 5 additional states already to model what we just did for Tennessee in 2024. My goal is to take it to all 50 states and then around the globe too. So, but it's that kind of thing. I mean, it is just layers upon layers upon layers. And the point, I guess, Jeff, the quick point is we don't know what we don't know. And that's a lot, actually, on an issue like human trafficking communities. This illuminates all of that and then provides a roadmap for change down to the county level. And that's pretty exciting.
This is a global issue. So can you just also frame out the numbers on this? Because it's nauseatingly huge.
Yeah, it is. So the latest research that just came out this fall shows that we now have over 50 million souls worldwide who are being trafficked, who are presently being exploited through human trafficking. And that's a global figure, and that includes forced labor and sexual exploitation. That does not include organ trafficking, which we also address because no one knows how to count that number. In the United States, we just surpassed 1 million victims of human trafficking. Unless we are believing the myths and misconceptions that the movie or media feeds us, you need to know that the overwhelming majority of victims here in the United States are not foreign nationals. They are children who have previously been in or who have aged out of foster care in this country. So it's United States citizens being exploited by our United States citizens in the United States. So that is a real serious situation. We saw a 400% increase in online child sexual exploitation, which is child sex trafficking, in the last 5 years also in this country and in the Philippines. I've just been training all of their law enforcement on this. So this is an issue that is massive. In the latest numbers, and I'm sorry to say this is a decade old, so it doesn't account for all of the latest numbers I just shared, but $150 billion per year is what the World Economic Forum says that traffickers are raking in every year off the sale of human beings. That's more than Microsoft, Google, Apple, and many other companies combined on profitability. So this is a massive issue. It is an everywhere issue. And so that's why you can hear it probably in my voice, just the rigor that we're going after this, because every day matters, right? Every single day matters when we're trying to save that many lives. And we believe we've created the solutions that are capable of doing that.
I got to put you on the spot.
Okay.
If you had to just fix one thing today in the world you live in, what lever would you pull if you could just pull one lever?
Oh.
And I know it's not even a fair question. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, that's now my brain wants to find a way to answer that. That includes a lot of levers.
Fine. You can have 2 levers. I'm curious if there are 1 or 2 things that it's not going to solve it, but man, it sure would help.
I wish every human being in a position to recognize and respond to human trafficking, which is all of us and everyone listening in, knew the signs. And that's a big part of what Justice U is trying to solve for. If we could get more eyes and ears open when you're walking around in your own community, when you're traveling, and others, to know the signs of human trafficking and be ready to make that call to the hotline or to the local law enforcement when you see those signs, lives would be saved. So if I had to fix one thing, it would start there, because that would raise up an army that could do more.
And if you had the time to walk us through that, would it be pretty evident what those signs would be for a guy like me?
It is nuanced in the sense that, signs differ based on what type of trafficking is happening and to what type of individual, right? So if it's a labor trafficking of adult male in your community, that's going to look different than the sex trafficking of a youth who might be homeless. but the typical signs are the same, right? So if you were able to sort of walk through that, and we do have a 1 hour online course that on Justice U that is free offering, because we want everyone to have that knowledge. We want no barriers there other than your time and to take time to learn. We walk you through what all of those signs are that you are likely to see as
Okay.
just a concerned citizen. And I know, having trained on that with thousands of concerned citizens over the years, that people start flagging those cases immediately. I've gotten so many calls after where victims have been saved in that community or on that travel trip. And I've myself, my husband and I, even on vacation, have rescued several victims over the years because we know the signs to look for. And we were just walking into a restaurant to eat breakfast.
Mm.
So if you know the signs, you're in a position to save lives. And that would be my dream, that everyone wasn't just generally aware that human trafficking exists in the world, but would know exactly how to see it in their city and be ready to make that call when they see it.
Well, look, I think just hearing the numbers, hearing you talk about how just inside the U.S., how big of an issue with our neighbors, I guess is what you'd say. First, got to pop that bubble that it's not around me and that it's in our backyard. I mean, I'm in Orlando, and I know that for multiple reasons that this is not a great place from that perspective. Let me go back to a question that we normally ask individuals, and I think I know the way you're going to respond to this, but I'm anxious to hear it. When did you realize the power of capital, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think I did, right? I probably did hint at that, right?
Yeah.
So I realized the power of capital when I realized we had to do this differently, right? We had to resource what we were trying to do differently. And that took me into the world of researching this world of, investment capitals, particularly impact investments. And that excited me because that meant that so I've heard it said this way. So these aren't my words, it's someone else's, but I've heard it several times. The people's charity bucket, their charity wallet versus their investment wallet, those are very differently resourced, right?
Yep.
And we all know which one's bigger. And wouldn't it be fantastic, if your investment wallet was also making an impact in the world and making our world better? And that's why benefit corporations began to exist, right? So some of the more famous ones that folks might have known are like Patagonia or Tom's Shoes. There's not many. I mean, there's several hundred now, but the idea being, is there a way to build something that can sustain scale and bless the socks off, the investor, everyone involved, right? From a shareholder, from a stakeholder perspective. And the answer is yes. As someone who's investing capital in something like this, the return on the investment that you will get on the other side of that investment, hey, use it however you want to continue to make the world better. Use it to invest more in impact investment opportunities, or give it through your charitable donations. This is an opportunity to create more and do more, as opposed to the typical kind of donation bucket, which is, I think a lot of people feel, is a black hole. And so it's always needing more. So wouldn't it be great if you could put your dollars in something that could create more opportunity, more transformation, and more resources that everyone can use to do even more good?
What about stewardship? What's that mean to you, and how do you live that out? And by the way, I think you're actually living it out, just what you're talking about. But
okay, well, I train our team on this word,
Okay.
and so and mainly what I'm trying to say is leadership is stewardship. So what we mean by that is caring with excellence, all that's in our hand to care for, right? So for me personally, that means caring for our resources well, stewarding our resources well, our people well, our teams well, our projects well, our partners well. We differentiate between excellence and perfection, right? So perfection we may never reach, but we certainly can give our most excellent effort every single day. And then we'll learn more, staying in a constant state of learning, so we'll be even more excellent tomorrow. So it's really about taking responsibility for every aspect of how you're caring for what's in front of you, so that it can continue to grow in all the ways it needs to. And I think that's true in your own personal life, your family life, your community, and certainly the world. But it's a concept that we take quite seriously in our team as well.
If you could have a dream come true, what would it be? And for the sake of this podcast, I'm going to take off in sex trafficking or human trafficking, because I'm assuming that would be you. Anyways, I'm going to take that off the table, because I also would love to hear what else you would be a dream of yours.
Well, I certainly, my dream of certainly would be that we have turned the tide on this issue. That will necessitate turn the tide on other issues that are driving it, right? So, and for me, the dream is to assemble the Avengers,
Mm.
right? So I just want to amass the greatest team of people who have committed their lives to the cause of others, and for us to be working every day together to help communities who are hurting and people who are hurting and create real solutions that are sustainable, scalable, and transformational. I just want to get up every day and do that. Right now, I'm in a space, and I think any startup founder person could understand where you feel like you're flying the plane whilst building the plane whilst trying to fuel the plane. So that's a bit of a stretch some days. I can't wait till we're solar powered, and I'm just able to say just assemble people and just work every day to make our world better, and that's our focus every single day. So, and not being worried about whether we can do it, but being focused on how we get it done. So that's my dream.
Yeah, ultimate success is eliminate human trafficking. We live in a fallen world, so I'm going to say that that's probably never going to happen. But realistically, what's a good goal to shoot for? If you were to say, from where we are today to it never happens again, what would you say to the world of this is what we should be shooting for?
That we would be shocked when it does happen, not because we didn't realize it didn't exist, but because we did everything in our power to make it not so. Right. So right now, communities are so stunned by the presence of trafficking, and I've seen this arc because I've been working this over a couple decades now. It's like, oh my gosh, trafficking's real. Oh my gosh, it's here. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? And now we thought we had maybe 2 victims. Now we have over 600 victims, and that's not because it just started happening. We just started to see it. Instead of being shocked by the prevalent, the presence of trafficking because we didn't know, if we really are being able to deploy this in all the ways we intend to with all the partners that we're working with to do it at the local community level and globally too, I just pray that there is a day when, yes, I agree with you. I think we live in a fallen world and we won't be able to eliminate it 100%. You better believe we're working this problem at the level of effort so that it's a shocking thing that it happened because everything in that community had been working against that reality occurring ever again. So that's where we want to go. We want to give communities the tools that they need to light up every dark crevice where this is happening and to build the kind of solutions, multi-sector solutions that will keep people safe from harm, that will help victims heal, and make sure survivors have the best pathway to success on the other side. And we're already seeing that happen. I just want to see it happen at scale, at a massive scale.
You have data experience at a community level, city level, whatever, where things have been implemented and you have radically shifted the tide.
Yeah, I mean, one example would be one of my most favorite and programs that we helped to develop and continue to support today. I was just at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in Congress last week highlighting it. Is the Hire Hope program, HIRE, Hire Hope of Randstad. Randstad's a global staffing firm that's headquartered in Atlanta. Back in 2015, maybe, I think, they came to us and said, how could we as a company, as a business, help end human trafficking in our city? And I said back to them, be who you are, but apply it to this issue. You're a staffing firm. Let's
Right.
build bridges because nonprofits couldn't do it and government certainly couldn't do it, right? Government was working on the intervention and nonprofits were working on the care. But the reality was that post-intervention and care, over 80% of those individuals were being re-exploited by traffickers because there was no bridge to the other side. So we helped Randstad, and to their credit, they tackled this full on. Build the Hire Hope program. We're in our 7th year, over 1,000 graduates, and 95% success rate at living wage career placement. I mean, radical transformation of that trajectory and those lives, generational change. So you bet. I mean, that's one example of many I could give where when you can work with a city, to kind of unearth those gaps and then help pull together solutions that are sustainable. And by the way, it took a business to do that. FYI, to bring that solution to bear in partnership with nonprofit and government, but it was the business who did it. Lives can be radically transformed and the whole situation can change.
Well, I knew this was going to be good, and you did not underestimate. Did you not underestimate? You did. What's what I'm trying to say? This was going to be good, and you delivered. There you go.
Okay.
From my perspective, not only the passion you have, but the stepping out, risking. I'm sure there's tireless travel. All that goes into it. I just want to say thank you, and you're inspiring to hear. And I think some of the message you have are just so powerful, let alone just caring about every individual as having their own dignity, worthy for to fight for. And then even this message of, in your case, you're in the wrong skin. You need to get into a business. And in this case, the sky's the limit of not only revenues, but also the amount of people that you could help. So, and I got to believe that there's risk doing what you're doing, not just financially. And so God bless you. We'll be praying for you, and anxious to see the lives that you continue to change. And I hope your organization, your company is one that everybody knows at some point.
I'm just grateful, Jeff, and just grateful for those who've listened in, and just let's get working together on this. So we got 50 million lives to save. I think every person is uniquely positioned to join this fight somehow, some way. If you don't know how to get started on that, you can just knock on our door. It's wide open.
Wonderful. Well, don't forget to subscribe to A New Lens with CommonGood Capital on your podcast app of choice. Please rate and review us on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. This will help new listeners find the show and hopefully put them on a path to a more fulfilling portfolio within the impact investing space. Till next time, I'm Jeff Shafer. This podcast is a production of CommonGood Capital and does not constitute an offer or a solicitation of an offer. Such offer would only be made through a private placement memorandum. Prospective investors in private placement securities should be aware that making an investment is speculative and involves a high degree of risk, including the risk of losing all or a portion of an investment. Investments of this nature are illiquid and subject to substantial restrictions upon transferability.